Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inside the Birds post-game live. It's Geoff Mosher with Adam Caplan, and I only got one word for this game. Really, just one word, Adam, for this Eagles defense, and that is wow. And wow backward. Holy cow, this is like the Philadelphia Eagles defense revenge tour after what happened last year. I mean, we could have foreseen a lot of things, Adam. We both predicted a high-scoring game, so did Greg Cosell. But it wasn't because the Eagles, after a rocky start, showed you they flexed their defensive muscle. This was quite a game for the Eagles defense.
My word is discipline. I am just blown away. I mean, when they're down 9-0, the offense couldn't get started. They gave up some plays, and in our Patreon chat, people are like, "Here we go, doesn't look good." What I said is, guys, it's only 9-0. It should be way worse. They're hanging in there. All they need to do is score, and then they would wind up scoring. And they held the Ravens to 0 points until the last 20 seconds in the second half. And that's just remarkable to me. I'm blown away. I cannot believe how good this defense is. We'll get into the injuries. They suffered a number of them. Some guys came back, some didn't. But this is an incredibly gutsy win. It's so hard to win in Baltimore. The Ravens were on a roll at home, and to do what they did on defense to that offense, it's just remarkable to be on the road. I'm just blown away by this defense. It's a defensive running game, man. Cold weather. Here you go.
So you think about it. They win 24-19. It is now their seventh straight win. Honestly, they win 24-12. Like anybody who watched the game knows that it was 24-12. It's a garbage time touchdown. So they held the second highest scoring.
By the way, it's 8 wins in a row.
I'm sorry, 8 wins in a row. Thank you. 8 wins in a row. Second highest scoring team to basically 12 points, and then 9 of them came pretty early, like you said. And they did this, Adam, without going into the game without Brandon Graham, without Bryce Huff, without Darius Slay, and then losing several players. Some went and came back, but obviously they lost Reed Blankenship for most of the game there in the second half, and still frustrate Lamar Jackson. They don't let Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's always going to have a good game, but they bottled him up. They didn't have him run longer than 19 yards. And even when their offense, the Eagles' offense, which I thought gave a workmanlike effort in the second quarter, struggled in the second half. They didn't have the ball a whole lot, and when they did, they didn't do much with it. But the defense would come through time and again. You don't often see Lamar Jackson as frustrated as you. I mean, he's throwing the ball to the left, he's throwing the ball to the right, he's running around, he's doing like Russell Wilson, like pirouettes in the pocket. They were really, and then they were hitting hard too. I thought that was really big.
Tattoo you, man. It's funny. I'm looking at my notes here, and you mentioned Lamar looked frustrated. They hit him. Their discipline was great. I know late he had to play. Big deal. They had absolutely no bearing on the game.
Right.
They tackled. They did a good job on Henry, man. They really did. No backbreaking runs by him. Now, did Jackson have some to break their backs on third down? Yes, that happened. But they didn't let it ruin them. They didn't let it see the thing that with Lamar, and you go through. Josh Allen does it, Mahomes, even Russell Wilson. Boy, Russell was used to frustrate the Eagles when he was with Seattle. These backbreaking scrambles or design runs or off RPO as well with Henry, they could demoralize the defense. It never affected them. And you remember, this is one of the 2 youngest defenses in the National Football League, and they're handling it so well. All these things you mentioned to start the show with defense, who saw any of this coming? It's unbelievable to me.
Yeah, and especially down 9-0. I thought that was really bad because I thought the Eagles would have to then start getting into a pass fest. And it wasn't like the offense immediately brought them back. Yes, they got that nice touchdown. And I thought, and we'll get to the offense a little bit. I don't want to overlook it because it was a defensive game. But on that first touchdown drive, Hurts made 2 really nice passes between the hash marks to A.J. Brown before hitting Goddard on the RPO touchdown. So I want to give Hurts a lot of credit because that's not a pass that we talk about him making a whole lot, and he did. And he did it twice on that drive, so good for him. But it wasn't like the offense necessarily got them back in. That helped them stabilize, but the Ravens would get the ball back. And does Justin Tucker miss 2 field goals? Yes, that hurt the Ravens certainly. But those weren't not
3 or 4, right?
Well, 2 field goals and a PAT, right?
Okay.
So 3 overall kicks, but 2 field goals. They weren't chip shots, but he is Justin Tucker. He's supposed to make those.
Yep.
But the Eagles constantly on third down would come up with a play to force those field goals. And I thought, Quinyon Mitchell played well. We saw Zach Bond make a big hit. And this defensive line did just enough. I wouldn't quite call it like a great pass rush because you're really not allowed to have a great pass rush because if you get too far upfield, Lamar runs. So
Yeah.
your order was perfect. Disciplined pass rush to keep Lamar from going crazy on you with the scramble and then make him make really hard plays. And he made a few, but not enough. So that was great.
Yeah, in fact, Greg mentioned that I think at our pregame show, Cosell did, about you can't get up too far field. It's almost you need to do a mush rush.
Yeah.
Which is what the Eagles used on Michael Vick in the championship game with the late great Jim Johnson, before Jim passed away, obviously. You got to be disciplined in your rush lanes. They were so disciplined. I'm just kind of like in awe of this defense because it's. I remember when we went to training camp, Andrew and I, and we'd say, I mean, it looks like the linebackers won't be an embarrassment anymore. That looks like they'd be okay, maybe average. Average. Zach Bond right now is one of the best linebackers in football. Not even debate. Like, he is one of the best this season only. Okay, we're not talking about next year or before this. This season, Zach Bond is one of the best inside backers in football. I mean, it's just you can't make this up. Like, who the hell saw this? And Nakobe's had a very good season. He's rebounded after a tough training camp. The coaching is so good as we continue to sing the praises. We're not going to stop. The coaching is phenomenal on both sides of the football, particularly defense. It's just that it's one of these things you just can't calculate, and it's just that to go into Baltimore, and you mentioned it with Lamar, he looked frustrated. By the way, he looked like the frustrated playoff Lamar that you mentioned. I'm glad you said that because Lamar's body language in the playoffs when they struggle, which he has struggled, doesn't look good. Fast forward to this game today. He did not look like he was very happy at the end. Not at the end of the game, but I'm talking even the fourth quarter. He looked frustrated as hell.
Well, it really starts, I mean, he had an issue in the second half where he dropped a play right before. I forget what happened. I think he threw it for the snap. He's like hitting himself in the helmet, right? So you could see right away they knew that they had some opportunities that they were squandering. But to me, the game really turns when it's even before the Eagles touchdown where they pin the Ravens really deep with a really good punt. And then Lamar has to throw. This is like the first of many third down stops. Lamar has to throw the ball from his own end zone, and he throws it to Zay Flowers' feet. He was a little bit rushed, throws it down to Lamar's. Yeah. So they have to punt it there. Then the Eagles score a touchdown. Then the Ravens get the ball back, right? 3rd and 2 pitch left to Derrick Henry. Who comes running in to drill him? Zach Bond, like you mentioned. Big third down stop there.
What a stick. And by the way, okay, let me add to your notes. Cooper DeJean, that stick he had on Derrick Henry.
Yep. Oh, shit. Later in the game, absolutely.
Sorry, folks, I can't. I just because you look at him, and I know he's over 6 feet, but it's not like he's 220, you know.
Yep.
And he had a stick. Give McCollum credit, by the way, under tough circumstances. He had to come in. For Blankenship, who had a concussion, did a really good yeoman's job, did a good job. Jalix Hunt. I mean, we could go on and we'll talk about it with Greg. And folks, Patreon members, you could ask Greg any question you want on Tuesday night if you're a Tier 3 member. Line up those questions now because he'll be looking forward to it. He loves you guys. And it just, that's the thing about this defense. Yes, Bond has been one of the most remarkable stories in the National Football League this season. If you go through all we want to give Nolan Smith also had a nice game today. Geoff, look at all the contributions. Sweaty's bounced back this season in a big way.
Yep.
Isaiah Rodgers hanging in there. Jalen Carter, not only is he going to make the Pro Bowl, that's not even debatable. You got to start talking now about him as an All-Pro for the AP voters.
Sure.
He is putting together a remarkable season. He's basically unblockable right now. Let's call it like it is.
He's a headache. He is an absolute headache for offensive lines and offensive coordinators. So I mentioned a couple of those third down plays, and then, the Eagles take the lead, right? They get the second touchdown, the Hurts run. They go up 14-9. The Ravens come right back down the field, and this is where I thought it was a huge play. You mentioned Jalen Carter, right? It's that play where he sacks Lamar, and the knee is down, and Lamar tries to flip it away.
It was. By the way, they missed that. The refs.
Yeah. His knee, but that's okay. They got it right eventually. Yeah. And then Tucker misses the 50-yard field goal. I mean, think about all the things that could have happened there if Carter doesn't make the play. All right. So then the Ravens' next possession, third down again. It's 3rd and 8. Vic calls a really nice delayed blitz where Bond and Jalix Hunt, who had to play a lot this game, kind of converge on Lamar and sack him. out. They were in field goal territory. They pushed him back out. Tucker has to come out for the 47-yarder, wide left. So now you've got Jalen Carter, Baun, Hunt, and then the run stuff that Baun had earlier as really big third down plays. Wait, did Tucker miss 3 field goals? Maybe it was 3.
No, you're right.
Yeah. So he made the 50 and missed that one. And then on the very next one is the possession where, and I give Maddox credit. He was there. I mean, Aguilar beat him, but Aguilar couldn't make the play along the sideline. That set up another field goal that Tucker missed. So third down was such a critical money down, and a lot of different players came through to make plays. And that's all you can ask for. I thought the way he schemed it, he was patient. He didn't blitz a ton, but when he did, he picked the right times. Used different players. He did, by the way, have to alternate between playing that 5-man front base, okay, because Cooper DeJean probably didn't play as many snaps as he has normally. I don't think they were in nickel like 90% of the time, probably like 65, 70. But they did have to play some dime. We saw that with Maddox.
With Maddox, I was just going to mention. Yeah, they definitely did. He mixed it up.
So he had to play a lot of different packages. And I can't wait to see the snap count, because you and I were talking about this. I'm not sure Jalen Carter came off the field. I have to think he did, because there's no way in my mind he could have played 2 consecutive games every snap. But if he did, to your point, holy cow, that's all pro material right there.
Ridiculous. Man, he did one thing, he didn't get called for it, unnecessary.
When he was with Lamar?
Unsportsmanlike. You got, dude, 90 cart Jalen, you can't do that. Don't get in the guy's, just step away, dude. I was worried they're going to throw a flag for unsportsmanlike for 15 yards. You can't do that. He got lucky, but he had an unbelievable game. See, the thing is, and we've been mentioning this, seems like last 4 or 5 weeks, the development of every single player. Even Jordan Davis is still good against the run. You saw him play early as the game progressed, because the Ravens were behind. You just didn't see him in there, which you get it. Ojomo was in for him. That's the way this season's gone for him. But everyone is contributing on defense. Rodgers hung in there. They didn't give up anything over their heads, really. You mentioned the play to Nelly. Nelly should have had that. I know it's not an easy catch. He beat Maddox on that play. I replayed it on my DVR like 3 times. He should have had it. He actually had 2 drops today, if you want to be honest about it. But I got to tell you, the tackling again is just so good. I don't know I don't know what happened in the beginning of the season. We were scratching our heads like, what is wrong with the tackling? And then whatever they were doing to improve it, and that's coaching. And then give Nick credit, because I know internally he's been on them. He was on them about it around week 3 or 4. And then whatever, they corrected that issue. Let me ask you this question. Let me throw it back to you here. Do you see anything right now? Again, we don't know injuries. Let's leave the injuries to the side right now. Is there anything on even defense that concerns you at this point?
Well, you said leaving out the injuries and
other than that.
No, I think they're playing. I think the only thing that would really, I mean, this is just any team. I mean, if they go up against a team with a very, very good offensive line and they can't get a pass rush because they just don't have an elite pass rusher. But I mean, honestly, that's any team. If you don't get a good pass rusher, you're not against an elite offensive team, you're not going to win. And this was an elite offensive team. Again, pass rush is sort of, when you talk about pass rush with the Ravens, it's the same thing about against the Eagles. Teams that beat the Eagles or frustrate them don't necessarily get a ton of sacks because they're just trying to keep Jalen from, running past them. So they mush rush, or they sometimes you broaden your rush lanes. It's called. You don't get too high up the field, whatever you want to call it. So I guess that would concern me. But other than that, the things that bothered this team last year, besides the coaching and the switching of the coordinators, was communication issues. You don't see those problems. Trips and bunch formations and getting beat on those, you don't see that. And I would say, I'm talking about before they really went to the tank last year, because when they went into the tank, everything was wrong. But their gap discipline is a lot better. They don't, if we're being nitpicky, because you asked, they don't create a lot of turnovers. And they certainly get their hands on a lot of balls, but they don't get interceptions. And in a playoff game, when you need those kind of plays, maybe that hurts them. But I think, Adam, I'm at the point where I'm thinking, if the Eagles lose, let's say at the playoff, they lose, it's because a team played a great game. I can't see the Eagles going out there and just hand delivering a game to the opponent. I think they've shown now in the last 9 weeks that they're going to be pretty tough to beat, and you got to bring your A game to beat them.
They're the NFL's most disciplined defense. You can't find a weakness. Yeah, okay. When you stick Maddox out there, okay, I'm sorry. Let me put an addendum. Yeah, he's the weakness when he's out there, clearly. But overall, it's just the discipline, and they're so young, and that's the thing you worry about when you play with such a young team, because you just don't know what you're going to get, and there's a saying, you don't know till you get there, and they've learned. They're very disciplined, and the coaching. See, I think it's with Vic and Clint Hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are old school as old school gets, and they don't take any bleep. And the crap that was going on last year, the lack of discipline with that JV coaching staff they had on defense, and the guys were not disciplined, that's out the window. Like, these guys are getting coached hard. They're held accountable, and it clearly shows. I mean, I've not seen the defense this disciplined, and I don't know. We would all have to go back. This is just remarkable what they're doing, and they made Lamar earn it. I mean, he got 2 touchdowns, and he had earned both, man. I mean, clearly the last one was garbage. I mean, give us. I'm just kind of you folks could tell I'm kind of in all of this defense. It's hard to believe.
Yeah, I you know what? I love the way you phrase that. If you move the ball on the Eagles, if you score touchdowns, you earned it, because I can't remember the last time we saw a blown assignment. Do you remember?
Exactly.
I can't remember the last time we saw a blown assignment. I can't remember the last time like an elite receiver even beat a corner or a safety by 3 steps and had an easy touchdown. They play their leverages correctly. They play their schemes correctly. I'm gonna chalk this up to Vic, and then also the extended practices in training camp. It feels like everybody in the back end knows not only their assignment, but what the assignment of the person next to him is supposed to be, which again is the opposite of last year. So they play a really well coordinated team defense, and again, you have a master in Victor Fangio, who has been around, seen a lot, done a lot, faced every single type of quarterback, every single type of motion offense, everything. There's nothing he hasn't seen. So it doesn't mean he's infallible. It just means he's probably not going to be surprised by a whole lot of things, and he's probably going to be very prepared. And that, when you say discipline, when you say earning it, this Eagles defense is prepared each week. It's like I said, when's the last time, even if they give up a touchdown, it's the other team earned it. It's not like they were just completely out-coached or manhandled.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the communication you mentioned a couple minutes ago is so amazing. I mean, because you've got, Rodgers, we showed that play on the film show with Greg. Remember the Cincinnati game when he told Coop to go behind him for that 4th and 1 play? Like, that just is an example of the great communication between a young veteran in Rodgers. I can't even call him a veteran. He's not even vested yet. Yeah. I'd have to look it up. Maybe he is. Is this his 4th year? Maybe because he got suspended for a year. But anyway, right. You catch my drift. I mean, he's a young guy, but he's much older than Coop. So the communication, the Bond story, playing that inside backer position is just remarkable, and his zone drops are phenomenal. Hey, by the way, I know Mark Andrews had a nice game. Trust us, folks. They made him earn it today. That catch, he had to jump up high. Sure. They earned everything they got today. The Ravens got. They earned it. It wasn't easy, as you said. They had earned. Yeah. They had one flub in the first half when Zay Flowers caught the ball over middle. That's really it. This is just a defense that is so well coached, and the other part is the execution, which was what you're talking about. The execution is just high level with this defense. Right.
So, and one last thing I want to point on with this defense before we talk about offense is I think we're all seeing and understanding the point. People say Vic Fangio's defense is very good, but it's not complex. It's about simplifying for the personnel. The Eagles don't have they don't play 6 or 7 guys at the line of scrimmage. They don't have, guys walking around trying to confuse the quarterback. Well, who's coming? They'll bring someone late. They'll drop someone. Everybody does that now, right? They bring a safety too high. They may roll them to one high. Everybody. That's not difficult. There's a beauty in the simplicity of what Vic does without being telegraphic. And he, as you just said, when your assignment sound and you know what not only you're doing, but the other person's going to do, and you know how to play the game, you don't have to be all I'm going to send, you don't see a whole lot of overloads. They stunt well. They play line games. Everybody does that too. Yeah. They don't do crazy exotic things. They just play really sound, smart, fundamental football, and Vic has a good knack for calling the right pressure at the right time or the right third down look at the right time. And we're seeing that now. We haven't seen it the way we've been told about it because we haven't really seen Vic Fangio doing it here. We've been seeing disciples and clones and whatever. But I mean, you watch it. It's not like you're confused by anything they're doing. It's simple, but it's effective.
They make them earn it. They really make you earn it. DiFilippo told us that. John said that when he's going up against Fangio, what Fangio wants you to do, okay, we're going to back off a little bit. It may take you 9 or 10 plays, and you're eventually going to get sacked or turn it over. Well, no turnovers today, but Lamar was frustrated. So that's what they did. They frustrated Lamar. He got that garbage touchdown late. I'm just blown away after their start when they're down 9-0. And it just looked bad, I was just looking at the I was looking at the chat earlier that we had people, and I'll admit it, I was like, this doesn't look good, but I just was like, wow, they're only down 9-0. How is that possible?
Yep.
And the thing is, they're the other part about this team comparatively to last year when they got big leads is they're incredibly resilient. This team, they're like, okay, we're down a little bit, let's go, we'll get it, and they do.
That's where, when I said earlier, I give Jalen Hurts a lot of credit. Down 9-0, they go on a really nice march where they get the touchdown to Goddard. It's a 6-play, 49-yard drive.
Great drive.
And then the next one's a 9-play, 68-yard drive that I thought was even more crucial because then it gave them the lead. And again, on those two drives, I thought a couple of things were key. One, Jalen Hurts had some designed runs. You could tell the Ravens were clued in on Barkley. They're a very good run defense. They were giving Barkley some issues. He didn't break one long until the fourth. So there were some RPOs and some designed runs, RPO throws and designed runs by Jalen that I felt loosened up the Ravens defense just enough to give them some ability to then get the ball to A.J. Brown. And that's where I say great job by Jalen Hurts because a couple of times Brown lined up in the slot and ran those quick ends, slants, and Jalen had to throw those balls between a couple of defenders. Not a throw that we often he made 3 today. There have been times where we haven't talked about him making, 1 in 3 games. He made 3.5 that I thought were really significant. So I give him a lot of credit. I think his poise helps there. He takes a lot of hits when he runs. He gets up. He runs the offense. So when you look at the box score and you say 11 completions, not a great passing, that's okay because he made the plays. And then, of course, in the fourth quarter, Adam, you knew after the Ravens missed 2 field goals, right, and could not get back in the lead, you knew Saquon Barkley was going to break one. You're just waiting for it.
Oh, yeah, because they're going to keep feeding them. I mean, they stay with it. This is the story of this team. They just stay with the run. So here's how they got out of their own way. First of all, they had 6 penalties in the first quarter.
I forgot about
Look at my notes here. It's kind of like exclamation point. How the Rick's had 2 really bad ones on special teams. Of the first 6, he had 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
But then they got out of their own way. It's sometime, we've seen this every so often with this team. They'll have some penalties, legal man downfield. That's coming. Like they should have a legal man downfield drinking game. That's coming. I don't know what it is. It's like for seemingly like over a decade, it happens here, but
yeah,
they just got out of their own way. And the second quarter was, I love the way off the RPO, the play that he pulled it out and either ran or threw it.
Mm-hmm.
And AJ on the slant, on the quick slant, they killed him on it. Greg talked about this. This is the issue that the Ravens have. They've got a lack of discipline over the middle and deep. Now they didn't hit any. I don't think they took any shots downfield. Maybe they did. I just don't remember. I'm talking way downfield.
The Eagles?
Yeah.
On the first or second drive on 3rd and 8, they tried to hit AJ Brown deep down the left side, but it didn't connect.
Gotcha.
That was about it. That's probably it.
Yeah. So, but the second quarter was their quarter, much different than the first quarter. But then the second half, the third quarter was terrible. They couldn't. They looked dead offensively in the third quarter, but the defense just was dominant. That's the great thing about this football team. It's like, okay, at least one side of the ball is carrying it,
mm-hmm.
and then the run game takes them home. Every game, the run game takes them home. That's another part of this team, which is fat. It's so old school. They don't throw early to win or score. They're like running early to score.
Yep.
And they're mixing up the pass. It's just, again, how could have you seen this? Yes, we knew with Barkley going to run the ball more than they did in the past, but this is quite remarkable what they're doing here.
Yeah, definitely. It's amazing. They only ran 52 offensive plays, Adam. I mean, That's pretty low for any NFL team, but that's just sort of the way the game was going. The Ravens possessed the ball a lot longer, almost 34 minutes to the Eagles 26. But again, they just could not make the big third down plays, the Ravens. And the Eagles, even with limited offensive firepower, and obviously, hopefully they'll get Devontae Smith back for the Panthers, who are suddenly a feisty team, to say the least.
They lost in overtime, but yeah,
but they're fighting everybody. I mean, they lost to the Chiefs just barely, right? Before that, they won 2 in a row.
Crazy
but hopefully, you get Devontae Smith back, and you give a little more firepower. But I think that it doesn't really. I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but we know what this team is. They're going to run the ball. They're going to play great defense to keep themselves in the game, even if they're struggling offensively. And Saquon Barkley's going to get it sooner or later. Saquon's going to get you. He did with the 25-yard run. I thought the game was over after that, and I think he took a big step toward winning MVP.
He did. And by the way, this is important that I note this. The Eagles are only 1 game back of Detroit. Detroit has 8 players in the front 7 hurt.
Wow.
8. They are really beat up. This is how huge this win was today.
Yeah.
Okay. This is not Major League Baseball. It counts.
Yeah.
And for them to be only 1 game back, and I know the Eagles have a number of injuries. We'll get through the week. We'll see what we've got. But Detroit's banged up. By the way, Detroit's schedule is much harder than the Eagles. They're hanging in there, man. They're hanging. They're only 1 game back. They're only 1 game back of the Lions.
That's right. I didn't mean to chuckle for anybody watching that sound heartless when Adam talked about the Lions having 8 injuries in the front 7. I was chuckling because only in football can you have 8 injuries in a front 7, right? Because teams rotate. So
yeah.
Well, how would you have 8 injuries in a front 7? But yeah, no, the Lions are really beat up. Yeah, really beat up. Who do the Lions have next week? They have a tough schedule because they have to play the Packers.
Yeah, I'll give you the schedule. They play Thursday.
That's rough with all those injuries.
Yeah, they host the Packers. They already beat them.
Right.
So they wanted to rather handily at Green Bay earlier this season. Then this is really hard. They host the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
Then they host the Bills. Then they have a rematch with the Bears, who almost pulled off that upset. Of course, Matt Eberflus got canned. Then they're at the Niners and host the Vikings. Holy smokes!
That is not easy. Now we know the Eagles have to play the Steelers left in 2 weeks, and of course they have another rematch against Washington, which got its groove back against the Titans today. I scored a crap load of points, but I kind of feel like if the Eagles go there are 5 games left. I feel like if the Eagles go 4-1, they might get the number 1 seed given that Lions schedule. I know the Lions don't seem to lose either, but I think Thursday night with all those injuries on shore is going to be. Listen, if the Lions win that Thursday night game, they may just win out the rest of the way because
I know, but man, they we'll see. This game is a little bigger than I anticipated them winning this, because it's a non-conference game. But I blanked out that the Lions are only a game up with the Eagles winning. Wow, that's fascinating. So this is an unbelievable win. I got to tell you, Nick Sirianni and Hurts together winning on the road again. It isn't unbelievable how Sirianni, who so many fans wanted fired after some of his antics, I know some won't give it up. They still blame him for whatever, and that's fine. But Hurts is a winner, man. You say what you want. The pass game's got to be better. Yep. What I find comical is like we all thought that the Eagles wouldn't be able to run against them. Now they ran better in the second half, but we thought they'd have to come from behind and throw the football. They didn't have to because the defense was the story. That's incredible. Yes.
We're going to be talking about this defense all week long. It's fantastic. So let's just really finish up with the injuries that we're concerned about. So Quinn Emmons left. He came back, thankfully. Yep. It looked bad, by the way, because Bond was making a tackle and right into his knee, and it looked like the knee bent the wrong way. Thankfully, he came back. Milton Williams left, and anytime if this D-line suffers one more injury, Adam, I mean, it could be pretty perilous. But thankfully, he came back. Obviously, the 2 you're concerned about, right, are Reed Blankenship, who was, I think, evaluated for concussion. Is that what they said?
No, he's out. No, he had a concussion. Yeah, he was ruled out with a concussion.
That's what I'm saying. You're worried about him.
Yeah. Well, what happened on, so your point, they actually evaluate that he got taken to the locker room under evaluation, and then he did have a concussion. They ruled him out with it. Right. So he's had a history of concussions. That's not good. McCollum, who's a rare tall safety, he replaced him. Yeah, Sidney Brown. Always remember, Sidney Brown only plays since he doesn't have the versatility that McCollum does.
Yeah, plus he didn't get the chance to really play in that defense all summer and spring because he was coming back from the ACL.
Yeah, true.
So, and then obviously, so you're worried about Reed Blankenship, and then you're concerned about Dallas Goedert. Now they
with
left
the
the
knee.
injury.
That's not good. Yeah, we'll see. Oh, by the way, a couple other notes before we get out of here. Anaya Smith did not play. He was healthy. Charles Harris practiced with Eagles this week, but he did not play. He dressed, but he did not play. Smith dressed, did not play. We'll see about Slay. Obviously, he had a concussion. He's coming back. It was concussion, correct? I think
Slay had the concussion. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll see about Devontae's lingering hamstring strain. So we'll have to say Johnny Wilson. By the way, Johnny Wilson did not travel with the team, so you would have to think his hamstring injury is not good because Nick talked about it. He was asked this week, and he was good enough to at least explain how they do it. For a player to travel depends on how the guy feels, whether he's allowed to be on the sideline and so forth. So the fact that Wilson did not travel, I know he's not important as a pass catcher, but he is important in the run game for sure.
I don't know if the Eagles have any padded practices remaining. You get a limited number throughout the year, but I would be shocked if the Eagles were in pads on Wednesday.
Use a feather. Sorry, folks. I mean, my God, they're beat up.
Yeah, and they're suffering injuries in practice too, which doesn't happen a whole lot.
Oh, Van Sumeren, I forgot. Van Sumeren.
Even remember Jalen Carter with the shoulder. Now it wound up not being a big deal, but he had to miss a practice because he banged up his shoulder. Somebody else too. I think was it Slay or Devontae? Someone
hurt. Did. Yeah. Oh, AJ Brown hurt his hamstring on a Saturday at a practice. Oh, by the way, do we know? I know Van Sumeren. Andrew said he's having surgery. Do we know what type of knee injury it is?
He had the surgery, I think, in LA, was it?
I don't know.
Okay. Andrew Pacheco reported it. Maybe we'll get in touch with Andrew. I don't know the extent, but it was
not ACL.
Well, I mean, what other procedures would you have on your knee?
No, it could be a variety. I mean, if it's torn, you don't know if it's torn meniscus. If it's completely torn, you're having surgery. That's 6 months. That's 26 months. I'm just curious because I just hope it's not ACL because what a story he's been. And again, this has been the story of development. This is the best in our 7 years by far of player development on doing this inside the birds, folks. We've never seen anything like this.
Very good, yeah.
Particularly on defense. And the coaching is like, whew. It's good to see people finally figuring out Vic's a hell of a coach. People are like, oh, he's never had a number one defense. How good can he be? I love how some people, I'm not saying all, some people say that's a criteria. It's kind of like with Dan Marino, right? Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl. Why should he be in the Hall of Fame? It's like what people say sometimes. I don't respond to it. I just laugh. I'm like, okay. Yes.
Yeah, whatever. Some of it is comical. To your point, Andrew did report that Van Sumeren's knee procedure is scheduled for Tuesday in LA. Now, again, I don't like to speculate too much, but if it was a simple meniscus, I mean, they could do that in Philadelphia, and I think they've done stuff like that.
Well, no, you wouldn't. The trim would you wouldn't have. Yeah, exactly. You're saying you're right. That'd be
flying out to LA makes me think it's a little bit more reconstructive than that, which would be unfortunate. Right, because they had normal like meniscus done here in Philly, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, which is generally in the 2 or 3 week mark. But anyway, we'll look into that. But they've got to get through this week, man. Carolina, as you said earlier, you're right. They're very competitive right now. They blew that game against Tampa. They went up with less than actually might have been. Yeah, they were up at 30 seconds left.
I thought they tied it with 30 seconds left. Oh, no, you're right. They went up by 3 with 30 seconds left, and then somehow Tampa tied it.
This Bucky Irving, my God, if you have him for fantasy, what a story he's been out of nowhere.
Yeah, I went against him this week, but I think I'm gonna be all right.
Wait, you said you rested him?
He was on one. My opponent had him this week, but I had.
I see. I got you. But anyway, we'll find out. Carolina comes in here. Thielen's back from his hamstring injury. He scored today. We'll check into Carolina's injury situation for you. Derek Brown, I know, is out for the year. That's a big one for them, but nevertheless, unbelievable signature win, 8 in a row for the Eagles. They're 5-1 on the road. The Road Warriors, man, it is remarkable. Nick Sirianni, one of the best head coaches in his 4th year in NFL history with in terms of being away. He's just a remarkable coach. Andy Reid's the only one who's better right now. Remarkable.
Yeah, doing great. You're definitely going to want to be, not you, Adam, well, you'll be a part of it, but our viewers are definitely going to want to be glued in to Inside the Birds coverage all week. We have a great slate of shows planned, as we usually do, and you're absolutely going to want to catch Tuesday morning. You want to be the first to run to the computer or podcast platform to hear Q&A with Quentin Michael and Jason Avant, because not only are they going to break down this amazing Eagles win over the Ravens, but you are going to get Jason Avant to talk about his role, his vital and viral role
My God, is
for
he
the
a
Michigan
national figure?
Wolverines in making sure the Ohio State players did not steal the Michigan flag from Michigan after that melee, right? You will see. Jason will talk about it. I'm sure he was involved in it. He's been in some of those videos wearing that hat and jeans and swiping the flag away. He's not afraid to say that that was him. So you're going to get a wonderful story when you watch Q&A Tuesday morning. So make sure you catch that. We'll have Gun on One this week. We'll have Inside the Tape with Greg Cosell. Everybody's been loving that. We will definitely bring some all 22 clips to go through from this game against the Ravens. So
all Jalen Carter. It's got to be all Jalen Carter, I'm sure.
Oh, it's going to be a Jalen Carter love
and
fest.
Jalen's Hunt. I hope we find it. Could you text me when you go? I know you're going to go through it on Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
If everybody says, "Oh, Hunt's your guy," he is my. I love the story because if you knew where he came, like if the guy was a safety, he grew like 4 inches in like a year and a half to become an edge rusher. This is a crazy story. And if you knew how many teams wanted Hunt, they thought they'd get him in the 4th. You didn't get him. Eagles did.
I think I'd reached my maximum height of 5'11" by my junior year in high school. This guy in college, as a sophomore, I think, grew 4 inches. That's
crazy.
Almost unheard of.
I've never heard of that.
4 inches in college, but it was the wrong way, man. I was eating and drinking too much.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. But I'm looking. Yeah, I'm curious to what you find, and we'll put. I get the snap counts overnight.
Yep.
So I have tennis early tomorrow morning, so I will post them at probably 5:30 a.m. or 5 a.m. if they're sent to me by then. So
all right.
Post them for you.
I will do that. All right, great stuff. Please be on the lookout. And of course, check out InsideTheBirds.com for all of Andrew Pacheco's coverage on this game and throughout the week. That's going to do it for Inside the Birds post-game live for Adam Caplan. I'm Geoff Mosher. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you this week.